Hopefully, happy Halloween. I'm trying to get this video up by Halloween. That's the goal. I really just wanted to do a fun kind of Halloween-esque look, but more of just a regular dramatic beauty look that could probably be applied in any number of circumstances. Something a little more editorial than the stuff that I normally do. I just wanted to, stretch those muscles a little bit, get out of my usual jam and do something a little different. I found inspiration in this image of Coco Rocha, who is a model in Vogue Italia 2006. I think it was Pat McGrath who posted it on her Instagram like a while ago, and I saved the image. I just found it so beautiful and inspiring, so out of my norm. What I love is that there's that really like porcelain-like pale skin, that sort of odd placement of that blue-gray shadow, the really deep, rich, bold lip, and very, very, very intense liner. So I've pulled a few things from my collection today that I'm hoping I can use to try to recreate that look, or at least my take on that look, and we'll see where we get. So I've already done my brows, but let's get into my skin prep. I'm not gonna go as pale as the photo makes it look like they did with her. I'm gonna keep referencing the image below. Also, by the way, I did do my brows thinner than I normally do to also try and mimic a little bit of the image, although they're still a little bit thicker than the inspiration image. I'm gonna start actually by using this, which is the concealer by Refy, or Refy, I don't know how you say it, but this is in the shade 03, which is actually very pale for me. So usually when I use this, and by the way, you have to shake it, and you have to shake it a lot because it does separate. This is very pale for me, and so I usually, when I use it, I have to mix it with other things in order to get more of my skin tone. But for today, when I'm doing something a little paler, it's perfect. And I have a few other concealers I can kind of pair with it if I need a little bit more of a coverage. I'm gonna dot a bunch of this just kind of over half of my face. I'm using it a little more like foundation and blend it in with a brush. I also have the dual-ended Refy brush. I'm hoping, because I put on moisturizer, this will blend out well and not get too streaky. This does set really quickly. I probably should have done a few less dots, but I'm just going for it. What can I say? Okay, so that is this half of my face with just a thin layer of that Refy concealer. Again, I have the shade 03. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other half of my face. I'm probably gonna work in slightly smaller portions this time just to try and get it more even. But you can see how I'm now noticeably fairer on this side than this side, and that's gonna be perfect for this look. I think I'm gonna go in after this though with a little bit of the Make Beauty concealer under my eyes, because I don't really love how this sits under my eyes, even though it's marketed as a concealer. I much prefer it as like an all over face glaze, if you will. And when I do mix this with other products, it works really well. I like it as almost like a brightening and setting concealer, because I can't speak exactly to what it does, but it feels to me like it self-sets. Like there's that sort of face bonding, almost, powder-like final product that really perfects the skin. But if you want it to be a little bit more of a smooth, creamy finish, blending it in with something else works really well. This fall, I've really been trying to romanticize, forgive me for using that term because I don't love it myself, but I've been trying to be a little more in the moment, let's just say that, in fall. It's typically, for me at least, the season that goes by the fastest. It's my favorite, and there's so many things about it that I love. And for all my sort of like complaining about the area where we live, it is the most stunningly beautiful place in the world that I've ever lived in fall. In fall, it is like everything turns to gold, everything turns to magic. It's really something to behold. It's like you walked into an episode of Gilmore Girls. I mean, there's really no other way to describe it. So I've been taking advantage of the fact that we're here, that there's so many beautiful places that we can visit, that we're surrounded by all of this like natural beauty, and really trying to let it sink in. Because typically I'm either sick, I'm too busy to be able to look up from all the things that we need to take care of, or some combination therein, and I miss it. And so this year, because it's my favorite and because I'm more conscious and aware of its existence, I'm taking advantage, and we're just, you know, living our best fall life. We're doing pumpkin picking, apple picking, pumpkin carving, pumpkin seed making, hiking, apple cider getting, you know, all the stuff, all the stuff, all the cheesy, lovely stuff. Okay, so that's whole face done. I'm going to go in now with the Make Beauty Concealer in the shade, this is the lightest one I have, 01 Fair Neutral. I'm pretty sure this is the lightest shade that they currently offer. I would love it if they came out with a broader range. I've said this before, of the Make Beauty Concealer, because it really is my favorite concealer. I use it all the time, but I do find that I'm usually making concessions on shade just because I love the consistency of it so much. And I wish that they would just invest in a bigger, broader shade range. Like, I would much rather see them do that than come out with like another new product right now. I would love to see them expand their skin tint range and their concealer range. And then I'd also love to see what they would do if they came out with like a proper foundation. I don't think they have one. Correct me if I'm wrong. I do have their Skin Mimetic skin tint, which I've actually grown to like a little more than I did initially. When I first got it, I was not a fan. I just felt like it was a little too dewy. And it is dewy. It's really dewy. But I find that when you pair it with the right products in addition, it actually is really beautiful and it wears really well throughout the day. Oh my God. I just feel so pale right now. I mean, I know that's kind of what we're going for, but I feel... it feels really weird to be like, you look like a ghost. And I do. I look like a ghost right now. I guess that's in keeping with Halloween as well. I'm going to call that good for the skin base layers. But I am going to powder just because right now it feels like everything's going to slide right off my face unless I do that immediately. So I'm going to use my Make Beauty Diffusion Set Powder. You can see the dip in it. I use it every day. And I have found this powder goes a lot quicker than like any other pressed powder that I've used. I will definitely get this again. I think I remember the creative director of Make, Carrie, saying at some point that this was like the unsung hero of the Make beauty line. And I think she's right. I think not enough people know about or try this powder. And yes, it's a setting powder. But I like the diffusion that it gives. I like the blurring that it gives. And I like how it feels completely weightless. I just think it's good. It works for me. Okay, what makes sense to do next? Let's look back at my reference image. She has literally zero blush on, or if she does, it's like the faintest whisper. I might, just for the sake of my own face, add the faintest whisper of something. But I'm going to use this art class bronzing. It's the bronzing powder. It's the bronzing powder. And I don't remember what shade it says. Modern is what it says on the back. It's kind of hard to read these things. I'm just going to take a little, like a really, really tiny bit of the first two shades, the lighter two, and just put it right here. And that's literally all I'm going to do. I feel like on camera it's actually showing up even more than maybe it is in real life. I'm not trying to give myself a cheek. I'm just trying to maybe make it slightly less flat because I have really flattened my face out. I feel a little better. I feel a little less dead. I know I'm kind of supposed to look dead in this, but like, eek, too dead. Too dead for me. Okay, what should we do next? I guess we'll do eyes next. I'm going to start by doing the sort of inner corner blue-gray shading shape that she has. I've pulled out a few things to try to do this. I've pulled out the Black Ash palette by Narimi because I might reach for that sort of like slate blue shade in there. I've also pulled out the Ghost Face palette by Glamlite, the original one. They just released the new one, which I think also looks really beautiful, but I'm holding off on it for now because I just decluttered all of these things out of my collection and I kind of want to give myself some space to breathe before I bring in potentially anything new. But I do have this Ghost Face palette, which is really perfect for finding those kind of cool grays. And then I also have my Natasha Denona Biba palette. These are all things that I kept from my declutter, which has this shade Sculpture, which I think is kind of perfect for, from at least from the photo, which is obviously edited. I'm gonna probably do that and a combination of something a little more blue and see where we get to. First, I'm dipping into that shade Sculpture, and I'm just gonna start on my inner corner and kind of figure out where I want the shape to go. Again, it's kind of an odd shape, not a shape I would normally do. It kind of like bubbles up near here and then kind of comes back down, and it just doesn't really go all the way down across the lid. It seems like the rest of the lid is left mostly bare. She obviously also has a very different and very unique eye shape to mine, so I don't have a problem taking the reference imagery and adapting it for my own face, which sometimes you gotta do, you know? But what I do think I'm gonna do is find a light color, like this movie night color from the Ghost Face palette, this like light gray. I'm gonna do that, and maybe if it's too dark, I'll mix it with a white and do a little bit more of a blowout on the rest of my lid. Because I think if I just leave it skin toned, it's gonna not look as finished as I want it to. So that is kind of the like basics of the shape done, but now I am gonna go in and use this shade Fog, which is kind of like a desaturated teal almost, and I'm gonna find a really small brush to just kind of like edge around a little bit and blend into the shape to give it, again, a little more of that like editorial feel, because right now it just looks like two shades that are more or less blended together, which is not quite what I want to do. I do have to be really careful with this shade and really any of the shades in the Narimi palette, because they are really, I mean, they're beautiful to work with, but they're intense and you can easily kind of go too far. So that's more or less there, what I've tried to do on this eye. Again, I'm trying to not overdo it. I don't want it to be too intense. I just want to give it a little bit more shading. That's kind of it. I think the shape seems like it comes more onto the nose than I've done so far. I'm gonna try and bring mine out a little bit onto the bridge of my nose, because I do want it to be, like I said, a little bit more outside of my normal shape. So this one almost gives it like, it changes the bridge of the nose a little bit because it comes out, gives you a little more of like a demon eye. I think that's getting closer to the shape. Okay, I think I'm gonna leave the eyeshadow general shape for now and go in and start doing the wing, and then we'll see how that starts to look. So for the black, I am going to use the black cake liner from Mob Beauty. I have one of my favorite brushes here to do wings with. This is the About Face Angled Winged Liner brush, and my cake liner here from Mob and some water. And we're just gonna start to build this really dramatic wing. It's nice that it's super thick and intense, because usually I try to get my wings as thin as humanly possible. And so it's kind of, I think I'm looking forward to just letting myself go and be a little more drama filled with it and not be as careful. So I'm just gonna start on the corner and kind of go up and out. Despite the fact that I started this by saying, I think it's gonna be fun to like let loose, it's actually taking me a lot of precision to try and get this exactly the way I want it, but I think it's coming out really nicely, and it's coming out very, you know, sharp and beautiful, which is exactly how I wanted it and exactly how she has it. And I am adjusting the shape slightly to my eyes, but I think we're getting there. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other eye and see how well I can make them match. That will be a trick. Okay, I think we're back to where I want to be. I had to do a little bit of surgery on this eye. It got a little bit funky, but I think we're back to where we want to be. I'm going to zoom you out. I'm going to do my lashes, and then I'm going to show you where we're picking up from there, because the next step is really the lip, which hopefully will bring this look together. Okay, that is lashes on, or I should say mascara on. I didn't put on fake lashes because the lashes actually don't appear to be too prominent, and also I just don't do fake lashes. I just really don't do them. Maybe one day, never say never, but at the moment it's never. How are we feeling about the eyes? They're really intense. I don't normally do them like this, and it feels very 1960s dolly kind of eye to me. Obviously with the big cat wing, it feels really retro, which I like. It's giving kind of almost a little bit slightly Love Witch vibes, which is kind of cool. I just saw that movie for the first time. It was fascinating to me because it was made recently, but it obviously was made to feel like a retro love horror movie, and it was very interesting to me. We're on to the lip. The lip is a super rich blood red kind of, red, but it looks to me like it could be a mixture of things. I have a few ideas. I think I'm going to start with a slightly darker brown liner, and then I'm going to layer up a couple of reds that I have, with the richest, reddest being in the middle, and then I'm going to go over the top with a gloss. That's where we're going to start. We'll see how we get. For liner, I'm going to start with the Draw Me shade in the Tower 28. I love this liner. I've talked about it. This is more of a chocolatey brown, which it's not as though you see that in the image, but I do feel like her lips are really defined, and she probably has fuller lips than I do. So I'm going to give myself the illusion of slightly fuller lips by lining. I feel like I look so funny when I just have brown liner on, like I just smuggled a chocolate bar or something. Okay, next I'm gonna go in with the shade Dada from Saie Beauty. This is in their lip blur formula. These lipsticks are really, really intense. I don't know exactly how I would describe them. They're definitely like thick and pigmented, and they end up sort of matte, but sort of creamy. This is not a red. This is like a, I don't know, rosy terracotta, not that brown, sort of in the middle. But I want this to act as my base layer before I go over with a redder shade to kind of give the lip a lot more depth and juiciness. Okay, phase one is complete. Now we are going to go in with the Mango People Cosmetics Multistick in the shade Cherry. I look for any excuse I can to use this shade because it's so pretty, and I think it's going to be a good red to set this off. And it's got something really nice to adhere to because I have all these layers underneath. So we just took that from a little bit red, mauve-y, pinky, to red, full red, real red, and layered red, like deep red. But we're not gonna stop there. I wanna add a little bit of shine, so I'm gonna go over the top with the Rhode Peptide Lip Tint in the shade Espresso. This is a dark brown, however, it is a lip tint, and it's very, once you sheer it out, it really doesn't add that much color or pigment, but it's just gonna give me a little bit of shine without lightening up the lip. I think that's it. I don't know how I did. I'm gonna try and pose the same way she poses in the photo. Hold on. All right, how'd I do? How'd I do? What do we think? I'm gonna zoom you in for some close-ups of the finished look. It feels super weird without having blush on, but you know, we're trying to go with the inspiration here. That was fun. It really was fun to get out of my comfort zone. It actually took a lot more concentration to do than I was kind of expecting. I secretly picked it because it wasn't all that complicated, and I was like, yeah, I can do that. This will be a quick one. It took me admittedly a little bit longer, but I'm also a little bit of a perfectionist, so hopefully you feel like I did the look justice. I really like it. It feels to me like it's obviously pretty intense, more costumey makeup, but it's the kind of thing that you don't just have to wear on Halloween. I feel like there are other kind of, you know, fun parties or dramatic times when you could do makeup that's kind of inspired by this. And if you didn't want to do as odd of a shape on your eyes, you could easily just put a little bit of a shade in, you know, the corner and keep it really simple, and maybe even just do one color on your lips instead of layering them up like I did. But I really did want to get that depth, so that's why I did the layering. That was fun. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you have a really happy Halloween if you are celebrating, or just a really happy October 31st if you are not. We are on to the next month of fall, my favorite, and I can't wait to see you there. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.